Howdy, 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 my name's Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, The is evil. The is evil. I was telling my dad about these earlier, and I forgot all about the doorman! I will tell him about that when I finish here. So, here we're going to be starting with the carnivorous ivy. On the one hand, I'd like this episode to be a little bit shorter than usual, but on the other hand, I want to get to the recorded man to see if my theory about the being terrible in every entry. So, let's start with that carnivorous ivy, which sounds like it's probably safe. I don't know why I thought that. SCP-307 is to be kept within a 0.5 meter square stainless steel planter with a hydroponic growth chamber equipped with a remotely operated light and sprinkler. The size of the planter to be equipped with retractable circular blades, the controls to which must be located outside the containment cell and manned at all times. The hydroponic chamber is to be kept within a 5x5x3 meter room with stainless steel walls, floor, and ceiling. There are to be no windows in the room. All light will come from the hydroponic grow light, and any observation of 307 is to be done over a security camera. The temperature of the room is to be kept at 15 degrees Celsius to discourage seed production. If entry to 307's room is necessary, it is to be done by remotely operated robots. Absolutely no living humans are to enter 307's containment cell following Incident 307, see Addendum 2. If any specimens of 307 are discovered outside the containment cell, they are to be burned immediately until only ashes remain. Any personnel who touches 307 must also be burned. SCP-307 is a creeping vine similar in appearance to the common English ivy, Hedera helix, save for the presence of greenish thorns on the stem and the tendency of the leaves to exhibit a purple hue. The vine puts down roots approximately every 30.5 centimeters, 12 inches. The roots can penetrate any porous material but not metal. Any part of the plant not connected to a root system is to be considered dead and safe to examine up close. 307 appears to be carnivorous and seems to exhibit some degree of intelligence, see document 307A. When in the presence of a warm-blooded animal, hereafter referred to as the victim, it grows at a startlingly rapid rate in the direction of the animal, only growing 3 vines at a time in what appears to be a flanking maneuver. Upon contact, 307 appears to paralyze the victim, and then liquefy and drain all internal organs, musculature, and blood. The mechanisms by which it does this are presently unknown. They have, however, led to researchers calling it spider ivy. 307 was first discovered by Agent that in blank blank, where he witnessed it rapidly growing up the trunk of a tree and consuming a nest of American robins. Further examination has revealed the prevalence of the plant throughout North America. It has shown itself to be highly resistant to any attempts at poisoning. This has included all commercially available herbicides, exposure to allelopathic plants, and formaldehyde. Except for the sample obtained for study, the plant has been burned wherever it has been encountered. However, it is very likely that numerous specimens still exist outside of Foundation control. SCP-307 is only kept alive in the hopes of engineering a biological agent to use on the wild population. Experiment logs. Experiment 1, a tray of mealworms introduced to cell. SCP showed no signs of movement. Chilean rosehair tarantula introduced. No signs of movement. Did not respond when tarantula climbed on. Live mouse introduced to cell. SCP immediately began to grow in the direction of the mouse. 1 vine extended directly towards it, while 2 more grew around and in front of it, effectively surrounding the mouse. Mouse immediately became rigid and stopped moving upon contact with 307. Behavior continued for 26 seconds before mouse fell on its side, obviously dead. Vines outside the planter were severed, allowing D-Class personnel to collect mouse. Upon retrieval, mouse was noted to appear to be lacking any anatomic structure besides skin and bones. Mouse was taken for further examination. When mouse was dissected, researchers noted a complete absence of blood, internal organs, and musculature. All interior structures were instead replaced by a system of roots, which researchers traced back to the mouse's skull. A single seed was found inside the mouse's otherwise empty brain cavity. Mouse was subsequently burned. Jar containing 130 aphids introduced. Additional camera added for close-up viewing. Aphids proceeded to attach themselves to 307 and feed. 307 did not respond in any visible manner. All aphids were dead within 5 minutes of first feeding. Potential use as insecticide noted. Addendum 1. Notes of interest taken by Agent during observation of 307. The energy needed to facilitate such a rapid growth rate would be astronomical, yet 307 seems to be able to pursue prey regardless of any available light at the time it last fed. Or time since it last fed. The behavior exhibited by 307 during Incident 307 would suggest the presence of some kind of botanical muscle. Examination of severed vines has revealed no structure that could conceivably serve this purpose. In light of Incident 307, SCP-307 has been upgraded to Keter class. Appropriate adjustments to containment protocol have been made. See Incident Report 307 for more details. Which we shall. Okay. Bio Research Area Blank. Incident log as compiled by Agent Apocalymer? I don't know how to say that. But I didn't want to mess it up while doing the serious Keter voice. But I really have no idea how to pronounce that. Agent in charge of containment and research on 307. The following is a description of security camera footage from 307's containment cell in the morning of blank 2000 something. Close-up observation camera. Okay, so it starts at 8:01. Close-up observation camera in 307's hydroponic chamber goes offline. 8:12. Disposable dudes 104 and 127 enter to repair the camera. 8:13. Disposable 104 begins transfer of 307 to secure lockbox as per protocol. 104, 40 seconds, places it in the lockbox. 2 seconds, freezes in place. 127 is heard to inquire as to 104's well-being. 3 seconds, begins fumbling with his flamethrower, seemingly in a state of panic. A vine from 307, Vine A, is seen to grow in 127's direction. Personnel blank activates security saws in 307's planter. Vine appears unaffected. Gas line of 127's flamethrower is severed by one of the thorns. Flees the room in panic. Does not attempt to pursue. 104 falls over limp, presumed dead at this point. A second vine is visible hanging over the edge of the lockbox. Vines begin to grow in the direction of the door to the holding cell. Emergency saws are again activated. Vine B is severed, Vine A is not. Vine A begins growing in direction of Security Camera 1. Security Camera 1 goes offline. 2 remains online. 3 disposable dudes enter the cell. Vine A assumes a position similar to a defensive posture of a cobra. Unidentified disposable dude sets fire to Vine A. Emergency cells activate again. Vine A severed. Same disposable dude manages to close the lockbox. Other 2 remove the body. Autopsy begins on 104. All of that happened in half an hour. Excuse me, 29 minutes and 1 second. Autopsy results revealed Vine B had entered a small hole next to the faceplate of Personnel D-104's insulating bodysuit. Personnel's body was found to be in a state similar to that of the mouse described in Document 307A. No internal structure aside from skeleton could be found, replaced by an elaborate network of roots all connected to a seat located in his skull. A pair of shoots had begun to sprout in the direction of the eye sockets. He was summarily incinerated. So, okay then. Now it's time for the Aztec burial sarcophagus. Euclid? Safe? Safe. Okay. 308 is stored in a sterile containment room under armed guard. Personnel entering the room must be decontaminated and fitted with a level A encapsulation suits, and remotely observed for the duration of their visit. No organic material may be placed in 308 without level 4 authorization. 308 will remain open unless being studied. Okay then. 308 is an ornate funerary casing of Aztec origin dated approximately 500 years old with dimensions 1.8 by 0.9 by 1.2 meters. It was found at the blank archaeological excavation among similar mundane artifacts in the temple complex. 308 is covered in Nahuatl pictographs consistent with ceremonial practices of its time, though unusual in the care and expense devoted to them. Under normal conditions, the artifact is inert, but it exerts an animating effect on organisms when they are placed inside it. No corpses go inside of the sarcophagus because they will do the zombie. The effect was first observed in the original inhabitant of the coffin, data expunged. The poor condition of the individual has been attributed to its 500-year incarceration in the casing without nourishment or stimulation. Healthy, injured, or even deceased subjects are transformed by the artifact. Regardless of the condition of an organism prior to placement in the coffin, with one exception, see below, the creature will exhibit certain traits upon removal. Superficially, subjects remain unchanged, retaining injuries and conditions sustained prior to exposure. Despite the nature and seriousness of such trauma, however, subjects appear alive and responsive to the extent of the injuries allow. For example, A subject exposed to a fatal dose of cyanide in excess of 100 times fatal dosage conversed normally, respired, and displayed vital signs such as heartbeat and brain activity. The subject also presented classical symptoms of acute poisoning, including shortness of breath, drowsiness, headache, and cyanotic skin, but did not succumb even after a period of many days. Another subject was pierced in several major arteries and exsanguinated before exposure to 308. A subsequent examination revealed a heartbeat but no discernible blood pressure, and the subject was convalescent, though conscious of great pain in the injured areas. For further experiment log, see 308A attached. Subjects in this altered state will neither succumb to any injury, again, one exception, no matter how severe, nor heal any wound, no matter how minor. In addition, they display a dependence on the artifact similar to addiction, insisting on regular exposure, becoming erratic and violent when this is withheld. Subjects experience pain normally, and many who have suffered extensive damage will rapidly deteriorate psychologically. Progressive conditions such as cancer and infections continue to advance in subjects exposed to 308, though instead of dying, they suffer from ever-escalating symptoms. The only thing a subject requires to be affected by 308 is the presence of a heart. Subjects with a wounded or diseased heart are animated, as are portions of organisms or tissues connected to a heart. Individuals with their hearts removed or body portions without a heart are unaffected by exposure to the artifact. Even an isolated heart placed in the container will resume beating at a normal rhythm. Subjects exposed to 308 remain alive and essentially unkillable until their heart is destroyed, whereupon they succumb and decay normally. Because of the nature of 308 and the apparent psychological effects it exerts on subjects, all exposed individuals must be isolated and terminated at the conclusion of testing. Temporary use of 208 to debrief deceased personnel permitted by level 4 authorization only. Okay, so, subject, Canis lupus familiaris. I imagine that's some form of dog. Let's find out. Canis lupus familiaris. It is a golden retriever. Or a domestic dog. Condition healthy. Subject appeared normal, showed typical pain reaction, but survived repeated laceration, evisceration, exsanguination, burns over 90% of body surface, multiple gunshots, electrocution, and lobotomy. Subject terminated by blunt impact trauma, destroying the heart. I don't understand why they felt the need to do that many things to a single dog. Subject, disposable dude number 49,895. Stage 4 lung cancer, or lung cell carcinoma, so lung cancer. Subject continued to worsen post-exposure. Regular breathing ceased 3 days after exposure due to extensive tumor growth, but retained consciousness. Tumor infiltrated renal system, leading to external growths approximately 13 centimeters in diameter in the blank area by 14 days. Secondary tumors occlude vision and infiltrate the brain by 19 days. Upon the final ceasing of biological function at 52 days, metastatic tumors were evident over 70% of the body's surface area and had infiltrated every organ system, including the heart, which was the cause of the subject's death. Is that really what stage 4 lung cancer does? Would it, given the chance to remain, would it just go to everything else like that? Or is that because of the thing? Disposable dude number 34,892. Head and heart surgically removed from the rest of the body, keeping attached vasculature intact. Subject revived and apparently conscious, though apparently in too much pain to communicate meaningfully. Applied painkillers had no visible effect. Research ongoing. I mean, if somebody took my head and heart off of my body and then brought me back to life, I'm pretty sure I'd be in pain too. I don't know what they thought painkillers were going to achieve by this. I also don't understand why they thought he was going to be able to talk if his head was off, what with vocal cords and all that. Subject, Agent Someone. Terminated in the line of duty recovering SCP blank. Animated for debriefing, so that requested and was granted 2 weeks to prepare a post-action report before termination. After 9 days, subject's nightly request for access to 308 was denied. The following morning, subject escaped containment by murdering a technician and proceeded to 308's containment area, where she was terminated by guards on station with a bullet to the heart. Expired from myocardial infarction. Yes, the thing from earlier where the heart dies. Subject was recovered from the artifact inert with massive trauma to the chest, through which the heart had been expelled or ripped. The heart was beating regularly, but the subject's body showed no signs of life. Subject's medical background indicated that he had received a heart transplant 3 years prior. So the person the person didn't come back to life, but the heart did, and then left their body because it wasn't their heart. I'm not sure which one of these was the one where it said, let's see. With one exception. Regardless of the condition of an organism prior to placement in the coffin, the creature will exhibit certain Okay, so I guess they mean the guy at the very, very bottom where it just popped the heart out and let that be alive without him. Okay, that's weird. Moving on. Now it's time to check out a plush toy, which I want to say is safe, but it's probably, yep. 309 is currently stored in a secure glove box in the Level 2 research lab at Site Blank. Routine physical examinations of 309, as well as experiments involving small animals, I don't like the sound of that, may only be conducted using the glove box. Removal of 309 from the glove box for testing on larger animals or humans requires the approval of Dr. Blank or equivalent Level 4 command personnel. Human testing is restricted to D-class personnel. 305 is a small plush stuffed animal that looks as if it had been turned completely inside out. Gold and orange fur is present along the seams with a small... Is he going to turn things inside out if they touch it? Is that what's about to happen here? Do they give the stuffed animal to things and then the things flip inside out like the Magic Man from Adventure Time? Because that's not okay. That's not okay. Let's continue. Golden fur is present along the seams with a small amount of cotton stuffing and 2 protruding eyes visible on the head. The interior of 309 is understuffed with cotton, giving a flexible and cuddly feel. Sorry. Yep. 309 has no effect on inanimate objects, however, contact with living subjects is both dangerous and life-threatening. Humans and animals lightly brush at 309 with a finger or a similarly small portion of the body display severe, non-localized discomfort for tens of minutes afterwards. Humans also report feeling extreme nausea despite the fact that 309 does not induce vomiting. The discomfort and nausea are so overwhelming that even when the most hardened subjects have proven unable to voluntarily maintain contact with 309 for longer than a few seconds. If 309 is pressed firmly against the subject or the subject quickly picks up 309 and attempts to hold it, the subject will be violently and painfully turned inside out over the course of 5 to 10 seconds. Skeletons are unaltered, but all soft tissues are inverted such that muscles, tendons, ligaments, and various internal organs are resituated on the exterior of the body. Though not immediately fatal, the process is irreversible and universally considered painful. Agent Blake, who had the misfortune of discovering 309. Did they just pose him like that? Okay, so it would seem I was right on the money in guessing what happens here. If you hold the inside-out stuffed animal, you also become an inside-out stuffed animal. Except not a stuffed animal, you're just inside out. You know what? Let's see if I can let me see if I can find that Magic Man clip. Adventure Time Magic Man. Videos.
Oh, whoa!
He's magic. I didn't expect this.
Magic. Away!
Think happy thoughts. Little cute bees, little babies, tiny, tiny bunnies.
What is wrong with you, Magic Man?
That has been brought to you courtesy of the Adventure Time Hub. Oh hey! That seems to be, over the garden wall. Like that show. But yeah, that's what SCP-309 does to people. That. Okay, so the Eternal Flame. I want to say Euclid, because that doesn't sound like something you could easily contain. I'm wrong. I was expecting some sort of, like, hellish fire. I wasn't expecting it to be an eternal flame like one of those candles they put on important graves that never go out for some reason. I wonder how that works. When not used in experimentation, 310 is to be kept in a 0.3 by 0.3 by 0.3 meter sealed vacuum case composed of flame retardant material. I don't like the sound of that. The research chamber surrounding the vacuum case shall be similarly flame retardant and kept saturated with carbon dioxide, nitrogen, or other fire extinguishing agent when testing is not taking place. Standard Foundation protocols to prevent unauthorized access should be kept in place. No flammable or semi-flammable substances are permitted within the research chamber except small quantities for research purposes. Authorization is required for testing on live or otherwise self-propelling test subjects. Chamber is to be kept sealed during testing, and emergency vacuum system is to remain active. All personnel are forbidden from wearing loose clothing when in the chamber. Long hair must be tied up. Flame-retardant suits are recommended. Memo 310AA. For the last time, loose clothing includes ties. Regardless of the normal dress code incurred on site, we want to avoid any more cases like Dr. F. No item should be worn that might allow accidental contact with 310. Dr. John Drake. Okay, so that guy probably fooshed. Any object which contacts 310 is to remain in the chamber until fully consumed. Any item of clothing contacting 310 is to be removed and expeditiously as possible while preventing further contact. Any limb or extremity contacting 310 is to be removed immediately. Surgical tools, including bone saws, are to be kept on hand for this eventuality, as well as bolt cutters and power saws in case time factors present a more controlled amputation from being performed. Any disposable dude contacting 310 are to be immediately terminated. If exposure to 310 to disposable dudes is part of the test procedure, it is recommended that the test subject is restrained prior to exposure to prevent further accidental contact. The research chamber is to remain sealed until all objects exposed to 310 are fully consumed. Therefore, it is recommended to limit size of test subjects to prevent lengthy lockdowns of research chamber. Okay, so it sounds like the candle, innocent looking though it may be, does exactly what I was expecting it to do. 310 is a 157mm tall white candle composed of apparently standard tallow. 310 is an unmarked 33mm diameter cylinder with tapered tip, out of which emerges a 7mm wick. Why did it describe it like that? Why did it describe it like that? When not immersed in an oxygen-free medium, the wick produces a steady 24mm tall flame. This flame can be extinguished through most conventional means: removal of oxygen, immersion in non-flammable fluid, application of sudden intense airflow. However, on the removal of the inhibiting factor, the flame immediately reappears, behaving much like a standard trick candle. Only a small amount of tallow is liquefied at the base of the wick and is not consumed by the flame. Even during the longest duration removed from containment, blank days from blank 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 to blank blank blank, as a result of the events of data expunged. At no time during those weeks was the tallow level nor the overall height of 310 observed to decrease. Other than its interaction with the flame of 310, the tallow itself was not unusual in any respect. Tallow removed from 310 is designated 310-1 and classified safe. It is easily cut and malleable as would be expected. It also melts and burns as normal when exposed to ordinary flame. Any tallow removed from 310 is slowly replaced by unknown means. If 310 is cut short, tallow will grow from the lit section until the original 157mm height and unblemished appearance is restored. In one experiment, 310 was placed in a heat chamber, melting the entire volume of tallow so only the wick remained. The flame remained lit even without fuel, and gradually exuded tallow until its original state was restored. Any flammable or semi-flammable substance which comes into contact with 310 becomes ignited with a slow-spreading fire. Unlike the flame of 310, this fire cannot be extinguished by any known means other than exhausting its fuel supply. Experiments have shown that the fire will continue to burn even in a vacuum, underwater, in a nitrogen-saturated environment, under intense airflow, in a refrigerated environment, encased in a fire-retardant covering, or any combination of the above. The only total consumption of all flammable material in contact with the flames will result in them becoming extinguished. If we look to the side, we will see the burnt, severed hand of 310 victim Agent Blank. Initial accidental contact with 310 occurred at the left mid-forearm, requiring the limb to be amputated below the elbow. After hospitalization, Agent Blank was able to resume his duties, although understandably is no longer a field operative. Any object ignited by 310 are designated 2 and classified Euclid until fully consumed, whereupon they revert to safe classification. Therefore, in the case of accidental ignition, especially of personnel, separating the lit section from the rest of the object as soon as possible is the only way to preserve the rest of the exposed object. 2 objects are also capable of spreading to other flammable or semi-flammable objects, resulting in further 2-type objects. The implications of such possibility for chain reaction are worrisome. Tests have shown that bodily contact with 310 is similar to normal immolation. That is, highly painful and damaging. Damage is somewhat more extensive than that of normal flames, probably due to inability to extinguish and the unusually slow rate of spread of 2. No unusual or psychic or mimetic properties have been observed. The means by which two objects are able to continue burning despite all efforts to extinguish is unknown. It is also unknown why 310 itself is so easy to extinguish, albeit temporarily. And here we have the burnt remains of test subject 310-9, disposable dude 492. Initial contact with 10 was on the right foot while they were restrained. Flames spread upwards towards torso over 63 minutes, whereupon disposable 492 deliberately cross-contacted 2 from the upper thigh to head via right hand. Subject expired after a further 17 minutes. Subject was fully consumed 173 minutes after initial contact. 310 was recovered from the charred remains of blank, a hamlet outside of blank, UK. The isolated nature of the site is probably responsible for the containment of the resulting blaze, which firefighters had battled unsuccessfully for 8 hours before abandoning the buildings to the flames. In the subsequent investigation, 7 people expired, either through contact with 310 or cross-contact with earlier victims. The event drew Foundation attention, and 310 was recovered without incident due to the precautions taken by Agent Blank based on existing evidence. A further investigation of the site revealed that it was being used as a data expunged. The involvement of that organization may go some way to explaining why 310 was located where it was, what it had been used for, and how it started the blaze that led to its recovery by the Foundation. However, the question of 310's origin is still open. Okay, so I guess it's not just it's not restricted to the. It's looking like everything in the 300s is going to be just messed up. Completely, terribly, horribly messed up. So let's check out the tactile displacement gloves. They're gloves, they're probably safe, possibly Euclid, but there we go. Contained in high security item storage unit G78 at sector 28. Okay. Sealed to all personnel without written authorization from 3 level 4 or higher senior staff. Item barred for use in further research pending 05 comprehensive review. Okay. 311 is a pair of plain black gloves. They exhibit extreme flexibility, which allows them to fit every hand size tested. Object was recovered from blank, a professed voodoo practitioner implicated in several suspicious murders in blank. Following the incident, the body and all the subject's belongings, including the gloves, were appropriated by the Foundation for containment and study. When worn, the gloves seem innocuous and present no danger to the wearer. Subject responds normally to trauma inflicted on any part of the body, except the hands where the gloves are worn. All trauma and sensation of any tested kind inflicted on the subject's hands is displaced to another individual, theorized to be an individual the subject is focusing on at the time. Both gloves need to be worn for this effect to occur, but the subject need not be aware of the item's properties. More detailed analysis of 311's properties in test log 311-1. So, test 1C. Stimulus, Wartenberg pinwheel. Alright, how do these gloves feel? Okay, comfortable I guess. Good. Now focus on your partner. Dr. Silas rolls the pinwheel across the gloved hand. What the blank? I felt that! Interesting. Let's see what the Wartenberg pinwheel is. If it is what I think it is. Yeah, that's what I thought that was. Test 2A. Hypodermic needle. Okay, now focus on your partner. Inserts hypodermic needle. Ow! I said focus on your partner. Why, doctor? Did you feel a little poke? That's irrelevant if you don't. Sound a scuffle. Guards, restrain the subject! Agent Tyler enters the room. Quick, he has a needle in his... Blank. You son of a... Shoot him! Instructions for the following test were issued through a speaker using voice modulation, and disposable personnel were not exposed to any Foundation personnel prior to the test. Test subject stayed expunged. Concentrated sulfuric acid basin. Dr. Silas. See those people on the other side of the glass? Focus on them while your hands are placed in the basin. Subject's hands lowered by robotic manipulator. After a brief pause, subject D845224 and adjacent room begins to scream and his hands show signs of acid burns. My God, what's happening to him? Why don't the others help? Original subject screams aside, subject 9867220 begins screaming. Is that happening to every person I think about? Oh my god! You have to stop this now! Please stop! Oh my god! Oh my god! Subject continues pleading until end of log. Note, Subject's wife and daughter were admitted to Blank General Hospital later that day presenting with severe acid burns on their hands and heavy blood loss. Blank was pronounced dead later that night. Dang. Due to the proven capabilities of 311 and the serious possibility of misuse, it has been decided to isolate it in a Level 4 classified location pending review. It is also true that the artifacts might prove useful in extreme situations where handling dangerous SCPs proves necessary. In such an event, the use of 311 as supplementary containment equipment will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So, on the one hand, they could use the gloves to test out what happens if somebody with these gloves wears the Stepford wife rings and then thinks about someone else. On the other hand, everything about this testing was completely messed up and Dr. Silas should be terminated immediately. Because this is fucked up. So, next up is the atmospheric jellyfish. Jellyfishing. It's Euclid. I don't know what I expected from atmospheric jellyfish. I didn't really think about it before I clicked on it, but I probably should have known. 312 is kept in a large life form containment chamber at Site 19, as everything seems to be. As it does not require feeding, only researchers are permitted access to the chamber. All personnel entering the chamber are provided with wide-brimmed hats and advised not to look directly upwards. Do not look at the jellyfish. Do not acknowledge the jellyfish. You may see hooded figures around the jellyfish. 312 is an organism composed of very thin tissue layers and filled with atmospheric gases at a slightly higher temperature than the surrounding air. It typically floats approximately blank meters above the ground, although it will vary this in order to maintain its position relative to prey. Prey. 312 is capable of creating a small lenticular cloud around itself by releasing water vapor and manipulating air currents, and uses this as camouflage. Within the cloud, 312 is visually similar to a large jellyfish with a cap approximately 2.5 meters in diameter, from which trails a tube of tendrils approximately 25 meters in length. Okay, so it doesn't actually look like a jellyfish, or it's not actually a jellyfish, it just looks like one when it's disguised. It preys upon large mammals and shows a strong preference for humans. Of course it does. While hunting, 312 will stalk its prey from a position directly above, manipulating air currents around it to maintain this relative position. Prey can escape by moving at speeds upwards of 30 km per hour, or by entering a large crowd, which seems to confuse 312 and cause it to switch targets. Its core is filled with a large cluster of eyes. The majority of the eyes are human in appearance, except for one large central orb. The other eyes are connected to the central one by thin tendrils. This core can be observed through the tube of tentacles by prey looking directly upwards, or by a recording device above the targeted prey. So long as this core remains unobserved, 312 will remain docile and seems capable of surviving indefinitely without feeding, although feedings do increase its mass and movement speed as well as the number redacted. However, if a prey animal makes eye contact with the core, 312 will become active, generating a narrow, controlled vortex with the appearance of a long tube of cloud connecting the lenticular cloud above the ground. The prey is pulled into 312's tentacle mass by a strong updraft within the vortex, paralyzed by a venomous sting by the tentacles, then digested. Within about a week, partially digested remains of the prey will fall from the sky where 312 disappeared. After a successful hunt, 312 will drift aimlessly until another prey creature comes nearby. Based on incident reports, the Foundation believes there are at least 3 uncontained instances of 312 in the wild. Recovery effects are difficult because 312 often follows a single person for months or years before its effect is triggered. Okay, so it'll just follow people around and then not actually eat them until they look at it. That's interesting. Okay, the powerful hand dryer. It's in its armed state. It's probably terrifying, but that just sounds hilarious to me for a hand dryer to be considered armed. especially because it's drawing hands. Ha ha ha! 313 is to be kept unmounted and disconnected when not being tested. Access is strictly prohibited except with special permission from a level 4 official. Under no circumstances are personnel to press the button, save for officially sanctioned testing under rigidly controlled conditions. See Addendum 313A. I just glimpsed what it does, but 313 is identical in appearance and making to a World Dryer Core Model A electric hand dryer. The object measures 25 by 24 by 21 centimeters. Its casing is painted white steel. With a polished stainless steel nozzle and button. Internal workings are consistent with Model A specifications. However, despite this veneer of normalcy, 312 has two significantly anomalous qualities. First and foremost, it is utterly indestructible and impervious to all forces available to us, and secondly, it is extraordinarily destructive, apparently by design. Destruction test logs are available on request to those with level 2 or higher security clearance. The second anomalous property should be considered armed when 313 is mounted on a wall and connected to a dedicated 20A power source. Under these conditions, each push of the button represents a 1.5% chance that the property will activate. When this occurs, 313 will begin to emit a stream of superheated plasma, which originates somewhere within the object and exits from the nozzle in a direction perpendicular to the surface on which the object is mounted. The stream's force and temperature increase exponentially until the object tears loose from its mounting and/or propels itself through the mounted surface. Temperatures of over 25,000 Kelvin and forces as great as 650, I guess that's kilonewtons, have been recorded, although thrust of this magnitude would never occur under normal circumstances. The flow of plasma will continue for up to 30 seconds after the object is torn free, i.e. the normal duration of airflow for a standard Model A. Generally enough to propel the object an enormous distance if there's nothing in the way, or cause it to skyrocket at high speed inside any structure in which the object is confined, potentially demolishing the structure. This destruction is compounded by the effects of extremely high temperatures. Both the civilian casualties and property damage attributable to 313 are staggering. It has caused a number of fires and other disasters over the years, generally in a predictable pattern of being sold and installed, blasting halfway across the country, and being found and resold. The object passed into Foundation hands when it impacted near Site 5, having been mistaken for a meteorite. Addendum 313A. Some of the lower level personnel have been pestering me about our safety procedures when using 313. For those of you who have forgotten high school physics, 25,000 Kelvin is over 4 times hotter than the surface of the sun, and 650 kilonewtons is roughly enough force to lift a M1 Abrams main battle tank. Now imagine that much force behind this object, which weighs less than 10 kilograms, remember, F equals MA, and is indestructible. Dr. Sundstrom, Supervisor 3401, Site 19. Now, I don't know the proper math to understand what was just said, but if I'm not mistaken, what he's saying is take a hand dryer from a public bathroom, launch it with enough force to lift an M1 Abrams main battle tank at the heat of 4 times the surface of the sun, and it's indestructible. That's basically like... What's a good example of what that's like, despite what it just said, because I thought it was a meteorite? Something that's 4 times the heat of the sun, the size of a dictionary, basically, launching with the force to lift a tank. Yeah, I don't really have any comparisons for that. Just, you know, if this was a real thing, stay the hell away from it. Now it's time for a motion-seeking blade, and then the recorded man. I guess that makes sense that the motion-seeking blade would be Euclid. 314 is contained at the location of its original discovery at Site 47, which has been built around the anomaly. Local personnel publicly operated under the guise of the U.S. Forest Service. Although 314 is highly mobile, it has never moved beyond a 50-meter radius of its origin point. The area delineated by this radius is known as the Red Zone. 314 has created an equally large depression in the Earth below its origin point. All attempts to remove or restrain the object have thus far failed, but containment has been achieved by the construction of Site 47 itself, which is also used for various physics experiments regarding anomalous objects. Any experiments involving 314 must be cleared by Dr. Williams, C-Form HM120. I wonder if that's on here. With the exception of approved experimentation, all personnel are to keep clear of the red zone. 314 is highly reactive to all motion within approximately 52 meters of its origin point. Addendum. After Incident 314-0E, researchers are reminded that the object's kill radius is approximately 50 meters from point of origin, and for purpose of safety should be assumed to actually be 51 meters. Although safe interaction is possible at the outer edge of the red zone, and the object may even exhibit what the late Dr. Stratham described as playful behavior at that range, all action within the kill radius has always been met with violent reaction. I mean, it's called the kill radius. I don't know what other kind of reaction they would have expected within something called the kill radius. So, 314 is a 0.97 meter long, 0.21 meter thick obelisk. I was expecting like a kitchen knife or something, which is highly reflective and metallic in appearance with tapered edges that are apparently sharpened to a molecular level. No material has ever been recovered from 314, I can imagine. The object is capable of levitation and extremely swift motion, although it lacks any visible means of locomotion. Did it say knife or did it say blade? It said blade, okay, because meters are long. It's about 3 feet. The object is blah 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 blah. Although research does not indicate any true intelligence, the object is most certainly sentient of its surroundings and extremely reactive to any motions or vibrations within an approximately 52-meter radius. Analysis of rubble recovered from the ground below 314's origin point indicates that the object arrived at this location sometime between 1975 and 1979, which is supported by pre-containment reports from civilians. The object emits no unusual radiation save for a very faint sound which appears to be an anomalous broadcast of Blank FM, a local classic rock station. Comparisons between 314's vibrations and the actual broadcast of Blank FM are identical approximately 85% of the time, although recordings from 314 often include extra audio in the form of guttural sounds, snarling, and occasional commentary from the late DJ Blank Blank, who passed away in 1998 and was not employed with the Blank FM after 1983. Research summary. 314 reacts to all motion within its kill radius by impacting with the source of movement, although it ignores particulate matter smaller than 125 micrometers. 314 will continue to react in this manner until the triggering object no longer moves, has exited the kill radius, or has been reduced to pieces small enough to be ignored. It displays unerring accuracy. No limit to its speed has yet been established. Current experimentation revolves around introducing multiple targets into 314's kill radius at a time to quantify its method of identifying, prioritizing, and reacting to multiple targets. Multiple slow-moving targets are often struck down in order of their introduction to the kill zone, notably in a method that suggests that 314 is anticipating further objects being introduced. At Experiment 314-113, several tennis balls were tossed into the kill radius by researchers standing outside the red zone. 314 bisected each ball neatly in such a manner that the remaining momentum took them out of the kill radius, while putting itself in a position to strike balls not yet thrown. 314 has correctly predicted when a researcher will only pretend to throw an object, as well as when a researcher will fail to throw an object into the kill radius despite intent. Multiple fast-moving targets, such as bullets fired into the kill radius, can produce speeds from SCP-314 that exceed the sound barrier, or even create the appearance of 314 existing in more than one location simultaneously. Experiment 314-230 flooded the containment room within Site-47. 314 was able to strike at the encroaching liquid with such speed and consistency that it created an irregularly shaped dry sphere within its kill radius. The ground below 314 remained dry at all times. In previous tests and accidents, 314 has allowed liquid to fall upon the ground within its kill zone. When 314 detects motion as close to the edge of the kill radius, it moves in erratic patterns that observers have variously interpreted as threatening, graceful, or playful. These motions sometimes correspond to the individuals that provoke them, suggesting that 314 may have some means of recognizing or remembering individuals to whom it has previously been exposed. Containment breach 7/12/2000-something. At approximately 3:23 p.m. local time, 314 exited its previously defined area of operation and cut through the walls of Site-47 before returning to its place of origin. No personnel were harmed during this event. This time corresponded with an off-site review on whether or not 314 should be reclassified as safe. Whether this is coincidence or not has yet to be determined, but it clearly demonstrates that we do not know everything about this object or its motivations, or if it is capable of having any. Classification remains Euclid. That's interesting. It's like, I don't want to be safe, I want to be strange! Blah, 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 blah. And thus it remains strange. And now for the recorded man, who is safe. Surprisingly. But probably only because it's a CD. Object does not require any special storage arrangements. However, it is currently kept in an opaque cardboard box away from strong light or heat sources under the assumption that this will slow the natural decay of any stored data on the object. Why is it saying object instead of SCP? Why is it saying object instead of SCP-315? Object consists of a set of 95 standard 8.5 gigabyte recordable DVD format discs arranged in a stack on a black plastic spindle. Examination on the label side of each disc reveals no manufacturer's name. Printed into each matte label is the title POC11. Beneath this, each disc carries a unique symbol or glyph. No two discs carry the same symbol. On examination of the data side of the disc, it can be seen that each disc has already been fully written with data. Placing the disc into a computer or DVD player reveals that it is a standard encoded video disc. Playing the disc results in one of two effects, depending on whether it is a previously watched disc or an unwatched one. If an unwatched disc is played on a DVD player, the video begins. The scene displayed is a well-furnished living room with a chair in the center. Sitting in the chair is a Caucasian male, 315-1, appearing to be around 40 years old. One will then demonstrate the ability to react to and converse with anyone watching the video feed. One will respond to any questions put to him, appears to be able to see the environment outside the video screen, and appears to enjoy discussions and debates with viewers. If a disc that has already been viewed is viewed again, the disc will simply repeat the footage that was seen the first time. One will not react to viewers' actions nor deviate at all from the previous viewing. A disc once played always contains the same footage regardless of who's watching it. The only way to communicate with one is to insert a disc that has never been watched. Given that there are 95 discs, each containing 3 hours of video, it follows that one has an effective lifespan of 285 hours or 11.8 days, not including footage that has already been watched. It should also be noted that 315 is not the complete set of discs. 5 others are known to exist. It is known that all missing discs have already been fully viewed. One is cognizant of the nature of his own existence. When questioned, he is aware that he is being displayed on a television screen or monitor, and can reliably identify the type, size, and color of the device on which he is shown. When directly asked about his specific nature, however, one will not give a straight answer, preferring to draw the viewer into discussion or debate. It is not clear whether one is withholding information about his origin or whether he is uncertain himself. He claims the former, stating that to tell us everything would spoil the game. He neither demonstrates nor admits to any unhappiness with the situation, nor his short lifespan. One retains memory between discs. If one viewer interacts with an unwatched disc and switches to another disc, one will recognize the viewer and refer to a previous conversation. One has even shown signs of developing a rapport and friendship with those researchers who spent a lot of time talking with him. Attached document 315A, a collection of relevant excerpts from interviews with one. Recommended reading for familiarization with the subject. Addendum 1. Experiment to see how he responds to basic video playback functions. Pause. Entire scene paused, including 1. When resumed, 1 was able to tell that he had been paused. He then demonstrated the ability to respond when resumed to questions that had been asked during pause. Rewind. Entire scene rewound, including 1. When resumed, DVD played back one side of previous discussion. 1 did not respond to questioning until the video had once again reached the furthest watch point. He then resumed normal conversation and requested not to be rewound again. Fast forward. Whole scene fast forwarded, including 1 who sat still during sped up play. 1 picked up conversation immediately afterward and requested to not be fast forwarded again. Slow forward. 1 was able to react to conversation during slow play, but was slowed down himself. When normal playback resumed, he identified that he had been in slow motion, but noted it made no perceivable difference to him. 2. Attempted to copy one of the unwatched DVDs. Was unsuccessful. This contained some form of copy protection that nobody seems to be able to break. 1 showed awareness of this attempt when next consulted and made reference to cheating. Addendum 3. 1 made reference to disc being possibly pre-recorded. To attempt to disprove, play the disc out of sequence, i.e. play the disc from the middle of the pile rather than from the top to bottom order previously used. No apparent effect. 1 was still able to tell the current real-world time, converse normally, complimented researcher on guile. 4. Further attempt to prove or disprove pre-recording theory. A pseudo-random number generator was used. Displayed number to television screen. One was able to read out the number. If video is pre-recorded, the algorithm used for event prediction is almost impossibly accurate. Seems far more likely that effect is due to some paranormal phenomenon in the discs themselves, although further suggestions to try and prove either hypothesis are encouraged. Dr. Blank's note. I don't like this conclusion at all. Without the ability to copy the disk, though, I can think of no way to prove either one hypothesis or the other. There are more important things to worry about at the Foundation, but this one keeps tugging at the back of my brain. Addendum 5. 2 DVD players set up in separate areas. One randomly selected unwatched DVD placed in each player. Both displayed simultaneously to 2 separate researchers. Each instance of 5 engaged in separate conversation with each researcher. Both instances also showed awareness of the other conversation and were able to transfer a message from one researcher to the other. Addendum 6. 2 DVD players set up in the same room, played to 2 researchers sitting side by side. Dual instances of one able to communicate both with researchers and with each other, creating a 4-way conversation. When asked whether they were 2 separate entities or one entity controlling both instances, the ones were either unable or unwilling to give an answer. Doctor's note. This is driving me up the damn wall! I'm taking myself off this project for the moment. No psych evaluation required, I'm just getting stressed out trying to figure out how the damn discs work. Addendum 7. Experiment undertaken to disprove the hypothesis that discs are manufactured in the future based on SCP conversation records. An unwatched disc was placed in the player, watched by Dr. Blank, and logged by Researcher Blank. Researcher was asked to periodically record conversations incorrectly, logging fabricated questions and answers for both Dr. Blank and 1. All accurate records of the conversation, including the disc itself, were subsequently expunged, and experiment participants induced to forget which parts of the record were fabricated. Inaccurate reports were filed away as normal. Results: 1 continued normal conversation with subject, giving no fabricated answers or statements inappropriate to the actual conversation. Doctor's note. Couldn't stay away, but I at least have a decent reason for coming back. This proves the discs are not scripted conversations of future origin derived from our records. It's not a huge breakthrough, but God am I glad to have finally disproved something. So, this is a that wasn't terrifying, but is still really, really weird. In any case, this has been Anashi Sasuke. This is episode 73 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next episode, I'll do some more things. We stopped at 315, which is a good place to stop, so now if I want to go by 5s or 10s, it's easier now. And when I hit episode 75, episodes 75 through 80, if it takes that long, are going to be me trying to just finish up Resurrection A9 and be done with it. So, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.